Hi everyone, I'm Ruth Wasserman Lande. Today is December 25th, 2024. This is the live daily briefing of the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office. Before we begin, I'd like to share that tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Elon Levy will be hosting a live special online Hanukkah event to honor modern-day Maccabees. These heroes stood up for Israel and the Jewish people during the October 7th war. To register, please visit our social media pages where you will see an event flyer and a link. Now, I've spoken a lot about the fake Gaza famine allegations, but you don't need to take my word for it. Now, the US ripped apart the Gaza famine hoax. The US ambassador to Israel confirms there is no famine in Gaza. Ambassador Jack Lew said that the famine claims were based on very wrong numbers and blasted inaccurate information about food in Gaza as irresponsible. Over the last 2 months, 2,100 truckloads of food entered northern Gaza alone. Over the last 2 months, over 100,000 tons of food aid entered the Gaza Strip. 800 aid trucks are still awaiting collection by the UN on the Gaza side of the crossing. Israel is flooding Gaza with food while fighting the war Hamas declared on it. Just to clarify how unprecedented that is, imagine that the Russians would be providing the Ukrainians with food and medicine while at war with them. Remember, UN groups also warn of famine from time to time, and they've been wrong every time. Famine in Gaza means 3,000 to 600 people dying of hunger every single week. Not even Hamas claims that that is happening. Gazans, in fact, get more food now than before the Hamas October 7th massacre. Gazans receive more calories per capita, over 3,000 that is, than Norway, Switzerland, or the UK. There is no famine in Gaza, and there never was a famine in Gaza. Now, the horrid pictures of children scrambling for food are indeed harrowing and are created by the Hamas, who violently take control of the humanitarian aid and distribute it for exorbitant prices. Now, on a different but similar note, last night the Houthis tried murdering people in Israel for the fourth time this week. Early this morning, my friends in Tel Aviv were awakened by a siren, yet again. Their children ran into a bomb shelter, as did hundreds of thousands of other Israelis, both Jewish and Arab, who live in Tel Aviv and Jaffa. A Houthi-launched Iranian ballistic missile was hurtling towards us from 2,000 kilometers away. The missile was thankfully intercepted, but fragments of the interceptor smashed into a home. The Islamist Shiite Houthis in Yemen, who are fighting their own countrymen to gain power over the whole of Yemen, want us Israelis to also die. They say so in their motto: death to America, death to Israel, and a curse upon the Jews. They are partners in Iran's genocidal war to destroy the Jewish state, but they also want to earn some international acclaim and show their people strategic gains from joining what has become the trend amidst the growing number of extremists in the international arena: Israel bashing. Israel has spent the last year degrading each of Iran's fronts, and it will do what it must do also against the Houthis. But the Houthis are not just the problem for Israel. Extremists never are. They just begin with the Jews. The Houthis are a stick in the wheels of the world's economic and international shipping. Call on your leaders to take action against the Houthis, against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and against extreme Sunni jihadism, such as the Muslim Brotherhood, supported by Turkey's Erdogan and by Qatar. Such groups revere death and destruction and are to the detriment of the West. Now let's take some questions from our audience watching live on social media.
Thank you, Ruth. What's going on with the hostage negotiations? We see a lot of reports. On the one side, Israel is saying they haven't gotten a list of names. Hamas is saying that Israel's changed the conditions. What do you see?
As I say every time, I have zero trust in the Hamas. It is, excuse me, it is a designated terrorist. Excuse me. Excuse me. I have zero trust in the Hamas. They are a designated terrorist organization that have been lying throughout, lying to the world, making the world believe that there is a famine in Gaza, lying about taking money from the international arena, and instead of investing it in the people themselves, investing it in their war tunnels and crimes against humanity. And then trying to convince the world that Israel is committing crimes against humanity. That's why I don't trust them when it comes to the hostages. They must give a list of all the live hostages that they are holding against international law. And that will make the procedures go faster and make it cleaner for the people of Gaza. That's what we expect from the Hamas.
It's okay to keep asking questions? Our next question from our audience watching live on social media is about the Houthis, which you mentioned. What is the solution to stopping them from firing missiles at Israel?
Very simple. The Houthis are a terrorist organization that for some reason was taken off the list of terrorist organizations by the former administration in the United States. They should be in that list once again. In fact, if you ask the Yemenites themselves, they would tell you that, because the Houthis are a specific sect that is trying and attempting to take control over Yemen, first and foremost. And then after that, they are trying to hurt the economic channeling of shipping near their borders. Now, they're also an arm of the Islamic Republic of Iran and trying to terrorize the world into giving them strategic assets. What needs to be done with them is to stop their elite leadership completely. And what also needs to be done is to eliminate the Iranian Islamic Republic's threat. And that is the Ayatollah leadership that is feeding all of those designated terrorist organizations throughout the world.
This will be our last question today, and it comes from Aviva on Instagram, who asks, is Israel working with the PA to uproot Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the West Bank?
Okay. So, Aviva, sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend. But not always. It doesn't always work. In fact, the Palestinian Authority is facing the Hamas that is its arch enemy in the West Bank. And what you see in the West Bank is that the Islamic Republic of Iran fed and nurtured and trained and armed the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad for years. And what it wanted it to do is exactly what's happening now. Undermine Abu Mazen's Palestinian Authority and then take control of the entire West Bank and have Iran, or rather the Islamic Republic of Iran, on the border with Israel. And the Palestinian Authority, not for the love of Israel, but for the hate, the arch animosity towards the Hamas and its own wish to survive in the West Bank, is fighting the Hamas in the West Bank. The two interests between Israel and the Palestinian Authority currently, for this time or moment in time, they actually are adjacent, they intertwine. But do we have the same objective? This is the same Palestinian Authority that carries out suicide missions and attacks and pays the families of those who commit them against Israeli civilians. So we need to think very closely. Whom do we cooperate with? For what purpose? When we know that Islamic thought, in terms of its extremist conditions, amidst the Hamas, and very often amidst those who follow the Palestinian Authority, are to the detriment of the region and of the Israeli civilians. Thank you so much for being with me today, and come back tomorrow at 3. We're wishing you a very happy Hanukkah and happy holidays. Thank you.